The Golden Goose. Once upon a time in a small village, there was a poor, kind-hearted young man named Jack. Jack lived with his mother, and though they didn't have much, they were content. They worked hard, and Jack was known throughout the village for his generosity. Even though they had little to give, Jack always helped anyone who was in need. One day, Jack's mother sent him to the forest to gather firewood. As Jack walked through the woods, he encountered an old woman sitting by the side of the path. She looked tired and hungry, and Jack, with his generous heart, stopped to offer her some of the bread and water he had packed for himself. "Thank you, kind boy," the old woman said with a smile. "You have a generous spirit. As a reward for your kindness, I will give you a gift." She handed Jack a small, shabby-looking goose. "Take this goose to your home. Be careful, for it will bring you great fortune." Jack thanked the woman, though he didn't quite understand what she meant. He picked up the goose and made his way back to his cottage. When he arrived home, his mother was initially puzzled by the goose, but she shrugged it off. They had enough to eat, and it was better than having nothing at all. The next morning, Jack placed the goose in the garden. To his surprise, when he returned later that day, the goose had laid a golden egg. Jack could hardly believe his eyes. He picked up the egg and showed it to his mother, who was equally astonished. The egg was pure gold, and Jack realized that the old woman's gift was indeed special. The next day, the goose laid another golden egg, and then another. Day after day, the goose continued to lay golden eggs, and Jack and his mother became wealthier and wealthier. Soon, word of the miraculous goose spread throughout the village, and people from far and wide came to see the golden eggs for themselves. As Jack's wealth grew, so did his popularity. However, the villagers began to grow envious of Jack's fortune. One day, a greedy farmer heard about the golden goose and decided he wanted it for himself. He believed that if he took the goose, he could become the richest man in the land. The farmer devised a plan. He went to Jack's house and pretended to be a friend. He praised Jack for his success and after some time, offered to buy the goose for a very large sum of money. But Jack, feeling a deep connection to the goose and knowing that it was a gift from the kind old woman, refused to sell it. Determined, the farmer didn't give up. That night, he snuck into Jack's cottage and stole the goose while Jack and his mother were asleep. The next morning, Jack discovered that the goose was gone. He was heartbroken and didn't know what to do. Without the goose, they would have no more golden eggs, and they would lose all their wealth. Jack, however, wasn't one to give up easily. He remembered the old woman's words and decided to follow the farmer to see where he had taken the goose. He walked for many miles through forests and over hills until he finally arrived at the farmer's house. To Jack's relief, the goose was there, but it was locked away in a barn, and the greedy farmer was taking advantage of its golden eggs for himself. Jack was determined to get the goose back, so he devised a plan. He waited until the farmer went to sleep, and then he snuck into the barn. Quietly, he took the goose and returned home. The next morning, Jack and his mother were overjoyed to have the goose back, but Jack knew they had to be careful. The farmer might come for it again. Jack decided to hide the goose away in a safe place, where no one could find it. As time went on, Jack's heart remained kind and generous, and although he was now wealthy, he never forgot his humble beginnings. He continued to help those in need, and soon the people of the village, seeing his goodness, stopped being jealous of his fortune. Instead, they began to admire him for his generosity. Jack kept the golden goose hidden, knowing that it was a gift that had changed his life, but he also realized that true happiness didn't come from wealth alone. His kindness and generosity had brought him much more than gold. It had earned him the respect and admiration of the people around him. One day, after many years, Jack returned to the forest where he had first met the old woman. There she appeared again, and Jack thanked her for the wonderful gift she had given him. The old woman smiled and nodded. "You have used your wealth wisely, Jack," she said. "Because of your kind heart, I will give you one more gift." She handed Jack a small pouch filled with seeds. "Plant these in your garden, and they will grow into trees that bear golden fruit. But remember, true wealth is found in kindness and generosity, not in gold." Jack returned home and planted the seeds. As the years went by, golden fruit grew on the trees, but Jack shared this new wealth with the villagers. He never hoarded it for himself, always using it to help others in need. And so, the village prospered, and Jack and his mother lived happily ever after. The end. Moral of the story. The Golden Goose teaches us that wealth is not just about material possessions or money. It's about generosity, kindness, and using what we have to help others. It reminds us that greed can lead to downfall, but a kind heart and a willingness to share will bring true happiness and lasting prosperity.